So now let's get back into the new topic, loops. Okay. So what is the purpose of loops? Basically. Hmm?
To avoid
Hmm? To avoid
continuous
continuous statements. Indula, what is the advantage of doing so?
getting line of code.
For example, just imagine the same thing what we did here. Instead of writing these many times, if I use a loop, what I can do? I can, using the loop increment conditions or decrement something. So loop what it will do, every time it will check for the how many times. For example, I want to check 7 days, right? 0 to 7. So starting I'll give 0 and I'll give the statements. So 7, if I get, what happens? Automatically it will loop, it will check 7 times. Every time 7 times my loop will run. And once I got the 7, what happens? Automatically my output, if it is 5, I'll get my output of 5. So like that, based on the value, instead of rewriting of the lines of code to perform or execute some set of statements over the period of time, again and again, to instead of executing, I can give in a less lines of code and I can give more. For example, same we take an example of a layout. That day we created a layout. Okay. So first I created one parent, one card, and how many cards I created? Duplicated. 100 cards I duplicated. But if I use a loop, what I can do? I'll create one card and I loop it. How many I want? For example, as I said, I link that value I less than dynamic value if I give. So how many cards value they'll send from backend? That many times my loop will run. So that many cards will automatically get created. So that's what loops basically work. Loops will execute, perform or execute the set of statements for over a period of time. So looping is a continuous task. Looping is not like breaking like this and all. So it's a continuous task. Whether it will, once it started, it definitely should end, or else it will go on an infinite loop. That means go on executing. Okay. So that's why you should be very careful with the looping. Looping is a continuous task that happen until my condition becomes true. If your condition is not becoming true, what happens? The loop will fall into the infinite loop. It will go on executing. Okay. So even a single small 3 lines of loop, infinite loop, is enough to break your system. For example, you written some condition and by mistake you made it on infinite loop. That means that condition is not becoming true anywhere. So it is always giving me the value of false. What happens? My loop go on, continue to execute. What happens? Automatically your processor becomes stop immediately. Why? Because maybe for you it may be working 1 or 2 times, but once a loop is started, you are getting fraction of seconds. Even you have 1,000 loops you want to run, it happens in a fraction of second. Why? Because that much fast it is executing in the background. Okay. So that's what loop will do. Loop is helpful to perform or execute a set of statements, okay, over a period of time. And loop is a continuous task, okay, and that will happen until unless your condition becomes true. Until unless your condition becomes true, the loop will not end. Clear? So if you come with the loop types, so how many types of loops are there? Sure. Tell me what are the 4 types? Okay. Do while, then for while. Okay. Where is the for of for each? So before we used to have 3 loops: for, while, and do while. Okay, but with the ES6 we got 3 more. That is nothing but for in, for of, and for each. But you want or you want off? Okay. Okay. So for, while, do while, for in, for of, and for each. These are came with ES6. Okay. So today we'll be discussing about these 3. And when we started with the ES6, we'll go with these 3. Okay. We have to remember me. If you forget, it's your fate, I was telling. Okay. I want to start explain this when you're dealing with ES6 concepts. Okay. So remember me when we are dealing with ES6. And you parallelly check how this will work. Okay. So if you go with the for loop is a loop iterates the elements for a fixed number of times. Okay. And it should be used if iteration number is known. For example, simply to say, just consider filling of air to a bike tire. So if I can fill a air to my bike tire, if I know a particular pressure, how much I can maintain. That means I know my bike needed 33 pressure to my that one, or 34 or something I need to know. But if I don't know, what I'll do, I can't use the air there, because if I use more, it will blast off. If I use less, no use of putting air. So same way here, if you come with the for loop is nothing but we will use the for loop if we know the particular length, how many times I need to run that loop. Okay, how many times I need to run that particular lines of execution that need to be done. So that means for loop have a fixed number of iterations. Okay, we will know. For example, let's take the structure of for loop so that you will be able to understand. Okay, so for loops basically it will be keyword, that is common always. Okay, for initialization, then it will be initialization. So initialization is nothing but we are telling from which point you need to start your initialization, that loop where you need to start, whether it is 0 or 1 or which number you need to start or which condition you need to start. That's what initialization is usually called as. Okay, so initialization. Next it will be condition. So once initialized, second will be the condition. I want to tell how for which until this condition is, whatever the condition that I want to make true by using this initialization. So what happens? For example, if I give like initialization has 1 and I given condition as if 3 is greater than 5. Okay. So what it will do? It will start with 1 and until it becomes 2, it will go on executing. But for example, if 1 is there, first it will check 1 is greater than 2. So for example, here I'll give like initialization is 1 and I give condition like 1 less than 5. For example, this is what my condition I given in this way. So now it is 1, it will check 1 less than 5. It is true. Automatically my loop will got stopped. But if I just give 10 less than 5, what it will do? What will do? False, right? But again, I need to check until it became true. So what I need to do? Again, I need to change this value to 2. So if I want to do that, how I can do that? It is for getting false and stopping here. So that's where my update expressions comes into the picture. So it's not only about increment. You can use anything. Decrement, depends on the conditions. Okay. So update expression we call it as, instead of increment, you can name it as update expression. So what is this update expression will do? For example, you want to add, for example, here 10 is the value. I need to check 10 times. My value is 1. So what I need to do in that case, I need to update, that means addition. So that where I'll give the increment plus plus. So what is this plus plus is nothing but increment. Every time it will add 1 value. For example, if my initialization is 15, so now what I need to do? I need to do the decrement, not increment. Why? Because I need to go backward and check, delete the value. 15, 14, 13, like that. Every loop I need to reduce one number, right? So until unless this loop becomes run, so my statement will execute that many times. Okay. So this is the structure. If you say whatever the statement is there inside of it, it is going to execute it that many times until unless it becomes true. Okay. If the in the if conditions and all, what we are doing, once the condition is true, it is stopping there. Okay. Or else it is checking like if all the other condition, if it is false, it is not executing that statement. But loops are not like that. So loops will be like, it depends on functions you are using, or you are passing an individual statement, or you are passing an individual condition like that. It depends on many scenarios. Okay. So if you pass an individual statement like console dot something, until unless this condition becomes true, that many times it will console that value, 10 times or 20 times or 100 times. Okay. So this is the structure of my loop. So initialization is for initializing from where I need to initialize the execution of loop, and condition is like, but what is the condition I want to execute, and update expression. So it will be deals with expressing updating that particular value that we will get from the initialization. So update expression is always depending on the which one initialized value. So and condition. So condition also until unless this initialization value is equal to the condition, what happens? My update expression will go on updating that many times. So if you just take a example, so even we can say how we can say is, for example, if condition is false, for loop is terminated. Okay. So if condition is true, block of code inside of the for loop is executed. Okay. So update expression. So what update expression do? Update expression updates the value of initial expression. Okay. When condition is true. True, not false. Right? Okay, when my condition is true. So don't get confused. I'll just go with the example so that you can see. So I'll give basic example only for understanding purpose. Okay, but never practice base examples when you're practicing. Go with advanced examples. So let me do one thing. Let me take a constant variable and let me give n is equal to 5. Okay. So now my identifier n value is 5. Okay. So now what I need to do, what I was expecting basically is I want to print numbers from 1 to 5. That's what the output I was expecting. So to do that, first thing I need to do is what is the ending number? 5 is my ending number because I need to print 5 times. So I taken 5 here, just example, imagine. So now I'll be starting with the for loop structure initialization. So it should start with where? 1, right? If you want to start with 0, how many you will print? 4 you will print, but you want to print with 5. So I'll give like initialization. Initialize is nothing but declaring. Okay, declaring and assignment both need to be done here. Okay, so I can use anything. I is just for basic purpose. So instead of I can use like start. Just imagine I'm using a keyword of start. Start is equal to, I'll give as 1. Okay, so I was telling start from here and I need to check the condition. What is the condition? It check the n condition. So if start value is less than or equal to 5 in the sense, what is the constant name? N is my constant name, or else n I'll change the name. Okay. End value. Okay, I given like this variable name. I'll use the same thing. Start is less than end value, less than or equal to. Okay. Now it will be update expression. Why? Because I was initializing with 1. I was going with end value. So as I already said, for loop is we'll use only when we know the how many loops it will take or what is the particular value that we can use. Okay, so now what I'll do, what is the increment I need to do? End value or start value? Start value I need to do increment. Every time I need to add 1 value to it, right? Until it becomes complete loop. So start increment. Okay. So now I can view here what I need to do. For example, console.log of what I need to print here. End value or start value? Start value I need to print. Why? Because that is what I was initializing and that is what I was incrementing every time. And final output will be I'll get from it. So start. Okay, console.log of start I given here. So now if I just go and execute it. See, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let me do it in, put a breakpoint and see how it is working basically. Okay, so let me put it, and let me put here also and here also. You need to know what it will do. So now if I reload it, okay, first alert is done. See, now my end value is already there. End value, what is the end value? It is 5. So now start is undefined now. Why? Because I didn't initialize, just initialize at the before point, and now when I go to the next point, and now see what is the start value. Start value is 1. So I was initialized and it was checking 1 is less than or equal to 5. So it is false. So automatically it will come to the next next what it need to do, it need to update that one, right? So automatically it is failed and it came inside, and see what it did, it printed it automatically printed. As I said, until unless your condition became true, it go on printing. Once it is true, it will stop executing. Sorry, false, it will stop executing. So see, 1 is less than 5, true condition, right? 1 is automatically less than 5, so it is executing below line. So next, now if you see, next what it will do, again it will go back to the starting. So now if you see the start value, what is the start value here actually? 1. It printed already, it printed 1. Now if you see, now what is the start value of it here? 1. But when I just forward one more step, what is the start value now? 2. Why? Because as soon as I passed here from this, it stored it increment, it did. Okay, so now start value is 2. Now it was checking 2 less than or equal to 5. So it is also true. 2 is less than or equal, sorry, false. 2 is not less than 5 but not equal to 5. One condition is becoming true, one is false. Okay, so until unless 5 times, see, now what is the start value? If you see, it is 3. So if I go one more time, 4, right? So 4 less than or equal to 5. Now last time I was checking, now the value is 4, and if I click one more step, now it come to the here 5 it is. So 5. So 5 times I did, 4 times I did increment, +1 +1 +1 every time. So now I was checking 5 is less than or equal to 5. One condition is getting satisfied. So again it came back. Why? It came back and it, but see, it came back and the value is 6. Now it was checking 6 is less than or equal to 5. So is it true? My condition got break there. Okay, so if you see there before, less than or equal to 5, there are two conditions. So less than, some, if it is 1 to 4, it is like less than, it is true, but equal to is false, right? Because 1 is less than 5, but it is 1 is not equal to 5. But when it comes to the last condition, 5 is less than or equal to 5, here what happening? Less than is false here, but equal to is true, 5 equal to 5. So condition is true here. Okay, but when I go with the next loop, number is changed, increment. 6 is less than or equal to 5. 6 is not less than 5, and also 6 is not equal to 5. Both are failing here. So that's where my condition stopped executing the loop. So until my condition is completely became false, what it was doing? It was executing the statements that I passed inside that loop. So it may be cards or it may be function, anything it may be. If you write a function, that many 5 times it will run that function. If you put a card, until 5 cards it will create. Okay, so as a given numbers I wanted to print, it was just printing numbers, values 1 2 3 4 5. Got it? So that's how my loop, for loop, usually work. So until unless your condition became fail, I'll like go on executing the loop, and whatever the statements that you want, statements or functions or anything that you want to pass under that loop, so automatically what happens? It will pass. For example, I'll make a small change to it. Like if my end value is 1, now tell me what will be the output.
1.
Hmm?
1.
Why it will be 1? Why it will be 1? Can anybody tell me? Why? Because see, start value is 1. Okay. Start value is 1 now. So 1 is less than or equal to 1. 1 is not less than equal to 1. It is equal to 1. One condition is true. But when I go with increment, now it became 2. It has printed console dot start means 1 it printed. Now my start value will become 2. 2 less than or equal to 1. It is failed. Both less than condition and equal to condition, both are failed. So automatically what happens? My condition became stopped executing. So what happens? Automatically it will print only 1 here. Got it? So that's how my for loop will work. So for loop will be strictly how many loops it need to take, that many loops only it will take. It will not execute extra or less. But coming to the while loop. So next one is the while loop. So while loop, what it will do? So it will iterate the number of iterate the elements for infinite number of times. Okay, infinite number of times it will execute. But for loop, we'll use only if we know the value, fixed iterations. How many iterations we know we need to done. If we know, then only we'll use for loop. But while loop, when we'll use it, when to iterate the elements for infinite times. We don't know how many times I need to iterate it, how many times I need to run the loop. Okay, because maybe I was getting a dynamic value somewhere. So in such cases, what I'll do? In such cases, I'll use a while loop, because while loop support me deal with the infinite number of iterations, infinite times I can iterate my loop. Okay, so it should be used if number of iteration is not known. Basically, simply to say, if someone asks what is the difference between for and while, for loop we'll use when we know the how many times I need to iterate the I need to iterate. But if I don't know how many times I need to iterate, it is nothing but looping, right? If I don't know how many times I need to iterate, in such case I'll go with the while loop. So if you go with the syntax of while loop, so how it will be? So yeah, so while loop structure will be while as usual keyword, and here that is not coming. However, if you start okay, so for the for loop we are initialization is doing first, and then I was writing the condition. But coming to the while loop, what happens? My condition comes first, the initialization and everything cases will come later. So condition, and then I'll go with the what I'll give here, expression. Okay, so expression or code, whatever you want to give, you can use the keyboard, even code, you can anything. So if you go with the practical example, if I consider it, how it will be. So let me do variable count. Did I used anywhere? Count variable no. Okay, need to try if it is the notion. So count I was taken as 0. Okay. So now actually what I want to print is I want to print same thing. What we did previously, I want to do the same thing. Printing of the numbers from 1 to or 0 to 10. Okay. So now I'll give like condition while I'll give count is less than how much? 10 I want. Okay. For example, 10 times I need to print 10 I'll give. So then now what I'll do? I'll do console only. Console dot log of what I'll do? Count. Okay. So count, I'll use some space to it, right? Because it will be attached, it will come in a single line. So count. Okay. So now if you see here, I given the condition, I passed my statement, and then what I was doing? I was doing the update expression. Okay. So I was updating later. So now if you can tell me what will be the output?
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Why? It will end at 9.
There is a count
Okay.
is less than 10.
So let me check the output. And this that is irritating. Okay, let me remove this breakpoints. Zero. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
9.
9. So if we just debug it line by line, so you will know variable, statement, if condition, and increment. Okay. So now if I reload, see, first my count value, what it will be? This line is not executed yet. So that why it was showing undefined by default, because that line is not yet executed. It is at the starting phase that just declared. When I click next step, now it was executed. Declaration assignment both are done to that. Now if you check the value, it will be 0. Now I was checking 0 is less than or 10. Is 0 is less than 10 or not? True. Automatically it is true, right? So automatically what it will do? It will print this one. Count, now count will be 0. Now what it will do? It will come increment and again go back. Now what will be the value of count now? 1. Again I will go with increment. So 1 less than 10. True. So automatically 10 times it is going to execute. Okay. So now count value is 7. Now 8. Now it will be 9. So 9 is less than 10, right? So next if I go console, count 9 is less than 10, true. So now again it will not getting stopped there. Why? Because it is still true. When the loops will stop executing? When it is false condition. In the true condition, it will not stop executing. So now if you see, it stopped. Why? Because now my count value is 10. 10 is less than 10, false. If we are given equal to, then it may have printed 10 also, but I just use less than. Okay. So now automatically my value got printed, my loop will got terminated. So because my condition is becoming false and no way that it is going to become true. Got it? So that's why I was getting printed from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Anybody have any doubts?
No, sir.
అర్థమైందమ్మా అందరికి? Understood? అర్థమైందమ్మా? Doubts? Any doubts? Sure. Okay. So that's how my loop is working. But coming to the next one is the do while, which is completely bit different compared to these things. Where is this alert? Every time it is coming. This is the alert, right? Let me comment it out. Okay, today is equal to okay. So do while is little bit different. So if you see with the for and while, it was just executing how many times I needed. Okay. If the condition is true, it is executing how many times. That is, if condition is false at the first step itself, what happens? It will not execute. For example, as we said, end value is 1. Let's start is equal to 5. 5 less than 1. So it is getting false here only. So here I'll do the same. Count is equal to 10. Okay. So now what will the output? Can anybody tell me? Both the for loop and while loop both are failed. First loop on it will fail. Why? Because if you see start value 5, 5 less than 5. Sorry, 5 less than 1. No. Automatically my loop will terminate. So coming to while, same thing happens. So now tell me what will be the output I'll get. Exactly, nothing I'll get. Why? Because first condition only I became false. Why? I'll execute my statement. I'll terminate my loop. Here also, 10 is less than 10, false. I'll terminate there itself. I'll not go inside also. Okay. So, but coming to the while loop, it's little bit different. Sorry, do while. So what is this do while will do is, so it iterates the element for infinite number of times, but if the condition is became false at the first step also, it will execute my statement at least one time. Here, if it is my statement is false, condition is false, it's not executing my statements. Okay, one time also. But do while is not like that. It will execute at least one time. Why? Because it is due to the based on its structure how the do while loop will be. Okay. So if we go with the do while loop, how the structure will be? Where is it? My do while structure will be like do, and I'll pass the statement. Whatever the statement I want to do, I will pass here, and then I'll pass my condition. So due to this, what happens? First, it will execute my statement one time, then it will check the condition. If the condition is true, again it will go for loop. If the condition is false, it will terminate. But already one time my statement got executed. So that's what my do while will do. So condition. So if you put in as an example here practically, so how it will do. So for example, variable I is equal to, let me instead of st value, start value is equal to 20 I given, just imagine. Okay. So now I was doing the do while loop. So I was printing like console dot log of st value. Okay. I was printing it. Now I need to write the condition. Okay. I'll write condition like while st value is less than or equal to is less than or equal to 25 I'll give. For example, for understanding first I'll give normal I'll print. Okay, now tell me what will be the output I'll get. Can anybody tell me?
21, 22, 23, 24,
20,
22,
21, 22, 23, 24 until which number I'll get? 25. Totally how many numbers I'm getting here? 6, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Why? Because I started with here. First it is printing 20. Then it is come here and check 20 is less than or equal to 25. True. Again it come and print 21. By the time increment where we are doing here. So now tell me what will be the output of this now? 20, 21. Is it true? Why? అందుకే చూడమనేది క్లియర్ గా ఇంక్రిమెంట్ ఐ డిడెంట్ డిడ్ రైట్ idiot check blindly, don't go blindly, that's what I was telling. So st value I need to increment every time. Okay, don't even forget it. Simple things are gonna వదిలేస్తాం. Okay, don't even think that it's a simple thing blindly while we are writing the code. That's the problem. When we return in the previous line, you'll forget in the next line, or we'll go blindly, so that will create issue. You'll not able to find where is the issue is creating. Okay, so increment is done. So here now value is already updated. 20 became 21 by this line. So here 21 is less than equal to 25. So true, right? So it will print it. Now value became again in here 22. So like that my loop is going to work. As you said, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. But if I make it 26, now tell me what will be the output. Sure. पक्का लॉक कर दो. Love you, run. 26. Why? Because here my condition became fail, but before condition only I was executing my statement, so automatically my statement will at least print once. So that's the disadvantage of using a do while. So where you will use this generally? Pick an example in a general life. Pick yourself. అట్లీస్ట్ వన్ టైం అన్నా చేయాలని ఉంటుంది. కండిషన్ అన్ని ఫెయిల్ అయినా ఒకసారి అది డిఫాల్ట్ గా అవ్వాలనే కండిషన్స్ ఉంటాయి. ఒక ఎగ్జాంపుల్ పిక్ చేసుకోండి జనరల్ లైఫ్ లో. లెట్స్ థింక్. నో. చెప్పండి రా అట్లీస్ట్ ఒకసారి ఏది ఇట్లా అంటే బ్రష్ ఏం బ్రష్ చెప్పు, ఎగ్జాంపుల్ క్లియర్ గా చెప్పు, ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ క్లియర్లీ. We'll discuss later. Wait, online. So that's what about for loop, while loop, and do while. So I'll just try to share you few tasks. Okay, few tasks I'll share you. first try to never ever when I give a task, directly check into the Google. If I give like find a number in between two numbers, directly go how to find number between two numbers. First, coding is main thing about logical thinking. You need to think. So what I can do? So for example, if I want to check two numbers, first thing I need to do is I need to have two values, right? So if I need to get two values, I need to give two input boxes. Okay, instead of input or anything. So input I don't want to give. I can give prompt. There is a things called alert prompt. There are few things which are default JavaScript. If you see, for example, for some websites, if you load automatically, you'll get a pop-up at the top like username, password. So this is called prompt. We call it as these are the default. For example, what I need to do first, I need two values. So I'll get the two values. Okay. So before getting the two values, okay, I got two values now output, but I want to check what I need to check. I said something. Hmm? What is the example I want? Wait, what I did, I only forgotten. Yes. Mhm. Okay, so we'll do like this. So I want to check a number which is okay. Uh, Largest number between two numbers. Okay, I can give two integers and I want to find which is the largest number among in these two. So for this, what is the first thing I need to do? The user need to give two values. For example, first input I given 1, second input I given 50, which is the largest number. Of course, 50. I need to fetch that input value and I need to store it in some variable, right? Then what I need to do? I need to check that variable value, okay, with the other variable value condition. I want is the largest number I need. So I need to check with the largest condition. So once I use that condition, I'll get my output. Then I need to print that output. So like that first thing logically, నేను ఇక్కడ ఏ లాజిక్ అప్లై చేస్తే నాకు ఈ అవుట్పుట్ రావచ్చు మీరు రాయాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు సి 100లో 99% problems if you write or if you think how to resolve it first blindly you will get the solution. Okay, even we, for example, if I get a issue, what we will not directly go into the code. First, I'll think, for example, some API is not working. I'll check what is the reasons maybe. Okay, API maybe end call will be false. Or for example, API is getting values, I want to print different value. So I'll think what is the how many values I was getting, how I can compare that value. First, for that, I need to store the values. I need to compare. For comparison, I need one value. So these and all things like you need to first imagine yourself. Okay, think and try to execute first. See, if you want to become a coder, like you want to learn coding, if you don't want to buy hat, the only thing is thinking is the only thing. Okay, so if you know how to execute that lines of step, it's there are hundreds of, for example, I know how to execute that output. So what I'll do, I'll search like that. So I want this condition, how to write this condition in JavaScript. So don't search like how to get the solution, right? Like how to execute that solution. Search like that. So if you know the path, check that how to write this path. Or else if you already know the path, how path also, it will be good. You know the solution, you know the path. You can execute both, you'll get the output. But if you know how to do it, but you don't know the structure, what is the keywords need to be used, then you can use what is the keyword used for this particular methodology. So like that, you try to search. If you do that, you will remember that for lifetime because there it starts the logical thinking. But if you just search every time how to fix it, you will get output for sure. Okay, in 100 jobs in IT, if Google and those ChatGPT is not there today, 95% people will lose their job within 2-3 days. Okay, everybody is doing the same, but it's just about what you need to search, how you need to search, how you need to execute. When you go with the frameworks, you will not get the code completely in the Google. The code will be there, but it will be in between some other functions. So I have thousands of lines. I need to pick only that 5 lines of code. You need to know how to pick that 5 lines of code from that 1,000 lines. If you know that, you can become a very good developer. There you need logical thing. You need to think, you need to check from the 1,000 lines. Okay, what this line is executing. This. Okay, so my value is getting started here and it was getting executed and ending here. So I need to pick these lines out for my output. So like that you need to think. So I'll give few questions. Remember me in the group, but I was telling don't search in Google directly. Try to search for yourself. I'll not ask about task also on Monday or Tuesday because I'll not force you. But so don't search and do. Try to execute by yourself. Okay. It will be good once you're done, then post in the group. Okay. If you're not, leave it, no issues. But try to clear the task, each and every question, try to execute. Try 1 day, 2 day. By Monday morning, also, if you're not able to find, then you search Google. Then search the like check the code. Then you will feel okay, this much easy it is. Definitely, I was telling you will only feel, oh, why this much easy I was not able to think, because you need to think the concepts. That's why I said basic JavaScript. If you know basics, while is this while loop panel is very small for thinking, right? But if you get a big problem also, as I said, dynamic cards execution, same loop only you will execute, but there you will take that day Sar told only I is equal to 10, count is equal to 10. Nobody will like tell the full thing. You just need to execute this. This is the concept. You need to know where it need to be executed. Okay, building at cement వాడాలని ఒకటి చెప్పాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు, అవునా కదా? ఏ బిల్డింగ్ అయినా సిమెంట్ will use, right? But you need to know which particular cement you need to use for good building for longer time. అదే విధంగా కోడింగ్ కూడా try to think logically. I'll give hard tasks only. I'll give 10 to 15 tasks. As you have almost 4 days ఉంది కదా, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Friday maximum రేపు నేను తీసుకోపోవచ్చు. So try to check it out. Clear? You can leave. That's what about today's session. Okay. Next topic we'll go with the functions. Okay. Learn functions and come. Okay then. Have a nice day. Happy